Hi there, welcome back. I'm here with little Esprit again, and today I'm excited because we're going to canter. So what I'm going to do first is just show you how I brought Esprit along to canter for the first time under saddle with a rider. So we talked about this in the last groundwork lesson on the lunge line, where we got her confident with going a little faster in her trot, so she was okay with going faster with her tack on. So I'm going to do the same thing with me on her. I'm going to get her going, testing her speed control with me on her, letting her know that when I ask her to go faster, that I'm going to stay nice and quiet and still up here so that she doesn't feel like I am making her lose her balance at all. So that when I ask her for canter, that she has confidence that she can do it with me on her. And of course, when I ask her for canter, I'm gonna let her, so I gotta be sure to really think about my riding position and being relaxed and confident in my own riding that I can go with her and not hold her back. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put Esprit out on a circle. I'm gonna get her walking a little bit, making sure she's paying attention to me. Then I will practice my rising trot and my speed control. And then you're going to see me practice a little bit of my sitting trot. Now the sitting trot is an important skill to have before you try cantering. So I know from your previous riding lesson that you've been practicing your sitting trot and building up your endurance. Because when we ask for canter, we do want to try to sit a few steps before we ask so that everything is quiet and stable and the horse can easily move into canter. Now you can canter from posting trot, that's okay too, but generally we like to sit a few strides and then ask for canter. Now when I ask a new horse for canter, so when she first cantered with me on her, I just used my verbal command to get her to actually canter, because she doesn't know with the outside leg comes back means, okay? So when we ask a horse that knows how to canter, all you have to do is from your outside knee down, just place your leg back and then sit the trot a couple steps and squeeze them forward into canter, and they know what that means. So with a young horse like Esprit, I'm going to put that outside leg back a little, and just be careful. Sometimes the first time they feel that leg move back, they might kick out a little bit at it. Don't be alarmed by that. Then you're just going to use your voice command to ask them to canter so they know what that means. And then you just keep repeating that enough that the horse understands outside leg means canter, and then you can take your voice command away. So again, it's kind of like teaching them a trick. You give them the cue. At first they don't know what it means. You explain to them what it means, and then eventually the explanation part can go away. All right, so I'm going to put her out in the circle, do a little walk trot, some sitting trot, and then I will, as I'm coming by you, try to cue that canter so you can see how I cue the canter. And like we talked about in the last lesson, I know you studied your mechanics of the horse's canter, so you know how that works, remembering that outside hind leg's going to pick up the canter, which is going to bring all the other 3 feet up off the ground, and you'll see Esprit's body come up a little bit, which will make my body naturally come a little forward. Then her opposite diagonal pairs, her outside front and inside hind will hit the ground together, which will put her more of a horizontal position, which will keep me in a vertical position. And then finally that inside front is going to hit the ground, which is going to put Esprit a little bit low on the forehand and naturally have me a little bit back. So what I want to feel is that nice relaxed hip where I can have that scooping motion and try to follow the rocking rhythm of the horse's canter. All right, so if you're ready, give me a thumbs up and we'll get started. Canter. 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 Okay, so you notice that when I took my outside leg back for that first ask, the spree did react a little bit to my outside leg, and we got a little bit of cross cantering. The next two times when I asked her, I did put my leg back, which she was a little bit used to after that, and I used my voice command, asked her for canter. She cantered off. And hopefully you noticed the last time I left out the voice command, and because I repeated it a few times, the spree understood what it was that I was asking, and now understands that the outside leg back needs to canter. Okay, so obviously you would do that both directions to make sure that your horse is equal on both sides. If you do have a young horse like a spree, you might find it interesting that he or she may canter more easily, more willingly for you to the right. For some reason, I feel like the horses are a little less apt to say no when going right because they don't feel as secure in their balance that way. So they just give it a try and get it over with. So I am not going to go ahead and do a spree the other direction for you right now because I have a student here that I want to show you, if you're somebody who is new to cantering, how I help somebody who is new to cantering or getting back to cantering or a little bit nervous about cantering, how I help them get through that so that they get more confident that they can canter on their horse again. So that was your demonstration for young horse, and now we're going to go get kind of a green horse and a nervous rider to feel comfortable with the cantering. Okay. I'm going to hand a spree over and we'll get on over to Sarah. Start off tracking left. And you're just going to work on getting Lucci paying attention to you at the walk so that he's moving right along. And if he's nervous about us over here, you can stay a little away so he can focus on you. So let's just go over the rider's position real quick. We're going to remind Sarah that her abdominal muscles are there to keep her nicely balanced over the horse. Her back muscles keep a nice tall posture. Your thigh is soft and just draping down and around the horse. And those shoulders and elbows are relaxed. So you're going to just check in and give yourself a nice roll of the shoulders. And make sure that you're not using your legs or your arms to help you with your balance. Right, and if he needs to move more forward, get him going. Okay, so Lucci and Sarah. Lucci is a little bit of a green horse who does have some confidence issues in his canter. And Sarah is an adult amateur rider who has been sort of on and off with her riding. So coming back to riding, she wants to work with Lucci, but then sometimes gets a little bit nervous about cantering because he's nervous about cantering. All right, so we're reminding her, we're gonna do the little speed exercise. We're gonna go to rising trot to start, and we're gonna see if we can get them both a little bit happier with some speed in the trot. So Lucci has, when he comes out and goes, he has a little bit of a dinky trot, a little bit of a short strided trot. So Sarah's gonna have to work to see if she can get him a little faster and a little slower, and that he's nicely responsive to both of those things. and that Sarah can find her need for speed again and enjoy going a little bit faster. She's going to stay out of Lucci's way. When she asks him to go faster, she's going to make sure her riding position is nice and relaxed, so she goes forward with the horse and allows him to go with more speed. Now maybe a little slower, and then a little faster. One thing I like to tell my students before asking the horse for canter is to check in on 3 things. First of all, we need to make sure that our horse is paying attention and out in front of your leg. So you can tell if they're paying attention if you put your leg on to ask them to go faster. Do they go faster? And if they do, they're paying attention and they are out in front of your leg. And thirdly, it's important to make sure that your horse is straight. We talked about this in the lunge lesson where we used the fence line to help keep the outside of the body fairly straight when asking for canter, so that you get that true canter, that the left legs are leading. So Sarah, you're going to go ahead and ask Lucci for a little bit more trot. And then when you're ready, just swing that outside leg back, sitting trot into canter. She's going to ask for that canter and she's going to let it happen. And then just going long enough and asking him for trot before he thinks about braking. And then right back to a nice big trot. Very good. And then ask him for that bigger trot again. Sit the trot and then ask for the canter. And all of us watching are going to watch that outside hind push off the ground into canter. And we're going to notice that those left legs seem to appear to be leading the canter. That is called your true canter, when you're tracking left and the left legs are leading. If he were to pick up his right lead canter, that would be called a counter canter. Yep, canter one more time this way, and then we'll change direction. So going for that little bit of speed. So we don't want to ask our horse to run into canter, but we do want to make sure that they're okay with going a little faster and that their hind leg is working. So now eventually when your horse is more confident in the canter, you won't have to speed them up because they'll already have a good working trot and be used to that good working trot, good working tempo, so they can just drop into canter. Go ahead and trot, Sarah, and just change direction and try a couple of transitions the other way. And Sarah, when she turns right, is going to just remind herself and check in with her riding position, making sure she's stretching nice and tall, staying balanced over her feet. Those elbows are nice and soft. Nice big trot. Make sure he's out in front of your leg and listening to you. And that those hind legs are really working, so that the canter is easy for him. And again, we're going to ask for trot before he breaks on his own. Yes, and then a big trot again. And a canter again. Nice big trot and canter. And then your trot. So when you ask for the trot, you're going to think about just using your core and your weight to get the trot. So Sarah, go ahead and walk for a moment, because the challenge for this lesson is to see if you can ask your horse to go from canter to the trot without using any of your hand or arm aids to stop it, okay? And the reason I want you to do this is because you're going to use your weight, get the trot, and then see for a step or two of trot if you can actually give your hands a little forward and give up that contact for just for a couple of steps to make sure that you're not holding the horse up and that you are strong enough in your riding position that you don't interfere with his balance as well, okay? So you're not going to do this all the time. This is just a little challenge, just a little test to see if both of you are nicely balanced in that transition from canter to trot. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and trot again. And this kind of exercise helps you. If you notice when Lucci canters, sometimes he pops his little head up. So he has to start getting used to cantering forward into the bridle without throwing his head up. And sometimes this little challenge that I'm giving you will help them find their own balance and working a little bit more towards self-carriage so they don't feel the need to throw their head up during transition. So, yeah, into canter. Now keep that canter going for a little bit. See if you can get him to relax through his whole body and drop that neck a little, so a little bit bigger canter now. Now all you're going to do, Sarah, is drop your weight a little to the outside stirrup and make your body feel the rhythm of the trot. Now give your hands forward and then you can take the contact back. And let's just try that one more time. So sometimes that canter to trot transition feels a little bit chaotic and hard to stay balanced, okay? So we want to think about when you ask the horse to go from canter to trot, you're going to actually feel the 1-2 rhythm of the trot first. Step a little to your outside stirrup just to knock the horse just a teeny bit off balance to break to, and then give those hands right forward, making sure that you've got good balance, and then taking the contact back. All right, and you two can walk. Hey, thank you, Sarah. All right, so that's your riding lesson for today. If you think it was helpful, or if you know a friend that could use this riding lesson, please be sure to share and give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and remember that your challenge is to make sure that you can use all of your core aids to get your horse to come back from canter to trot so that you don't have to use your arms, and then a little test of the balance to make sure that you don't lose your balance in that transition and that your horse doesn't lose the balance in that transition. So go to the barn and have a good ride. Thanks for watching.